In this video example, you're going to learn how to build application using the app builder complete from scratch. And we're going to go and build all the items that are required also, and then configure that in the app builder and build the application. So let's say we are going to build the application for equipment request. You're in this company and you want employees to say, okay, I want a new laptop and or new PC. So you want that request to go to IT, and once it goes to the review and approval, you get to then look at the status of your request and complete any tasks and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and build one. I'm going to go ahead and first log into FlowWright. And once I have logged in, first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a form. Let's go ahead and create, and let's call it our equipment request. So I want this form to be responsive, so I'm going to go ahead and add, a grid to it also. So let's add a grid, and we'll kind of tighten up the grid by adding another column here, and we'll put some labels here, and let me add another row above, and so I'm going to put a label here, and we'll call it equipment request. And we'll make it bold, and we'll also make it much bigger here. Um, okay, and then we're gonna add, another label here, and we'll call it equipment type. And we'll put a text field here. Give it txt equipment. Let me put the quick type. It's required. And we'll duplicate this. And I'm going to get rid of this field here. And we'll type here equipment description. And we'll get rid of one of the columns from here. But we'll resize this so we have two columns in this row. And I'm going to put a multi-line text box here. And from this, you can also just search here. If you search for text, you'll see text area. And I'm going to just resize this so we can give it a description what we want here. And that's also a required field. And we'll add another row. And we'll put a submit button. We're going to go ahead and save that form. And just to make it nicer, we're going to go ahead and hide this particular grid. So we're going to say border is none. And we're going to go ahead and save, and we'll do a preview, and it's going to look like this. Okay, pretty simple form where we can say equipment type is, let's say laptop, and give a description of what we want, and we'll submit, and the process will start once we submit it. Okay. And typically in these type of requests, you also have things like, status field. You want to track the status. So I'm going to add another row here and put a hidden field in here. So I'm going to say add, and let's put a text box. And this text box is going to track the status. Um, like, request is, reviewed, approved, submitted, and things like that. So I'm going to say text, and we're going to hide this. So this text box is there, but it won't show up. It will be hidden, but it will be tracking the value in the process. So let's go ahead and save this form. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to associate a data table with this form, because we want the data from this form to flow into a data table so we can do reporting and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say data table, and it's asking me to give a data table. So as you can see, you can give pretty much any name you want. It will automatically concatenate form data in front of it. So I'm going to say equipment request. Once I add this, you will see that it added all the fields that are on our table, on our form into this table. So now whenever I create an instance of that form, it will automatically put the data into this table. And if you edit it also, it will automatically edit the data in this table also and manage that. So let's go ahead and create a process next. So I'm going to go ahead and say process definition. And let's create a process called equipment request. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to define a variable here, and we'll call it form ID. And this variable is going to receive the form, so ID, so that we can use it later in other steps. So first thing we're going to set is we're going to set the process to set the form txt status field value to a value of, let's say, submitted. So we're going to go to our form steps here. So I'm going to go ahead and say forms, and we want to use the one that says set form field value. So as you can see on this step, we're going to say set request to submitted. And our variable is variable dot form ID. And our form is equipment request. And now we're going to go and set some field values here. So let's go ahead and set txt status, and the value is going to be submitted. And so once we have done this, let's say the next thing we are going to do is, we are going to send a little task that says whether to approve this request or not. So let's say task, and we'll just use a simple task in this case. Just, approve, reject this request. And so we're going to say approve frequent request. Request. I will use the same for description. And if you go to advanced, I'm going to go ahead and say route it to myself. And that's all we need for this task. And then what we'll do is we'll use the same step here. We're going to go ahead and duplicate it. And we'll just set the value of the status field to be approved or rejected based on the task selection. So I'm going to go ahead and say set request to approved. And let me change the value here, approved. And I'm going to set this value to completed. And let's duplicate this and set this to rejected. And let's call this rejected. So we're going to go ahead and save that. So now we have the form and the process. The next thing we need to do is we need to connect the form and the process so that once the form is submitted, the process is going to automatically get started. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next. So I'm going to go back to our form definitions. As you can see, there's no form URL here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the equipment request and say view executed params. And I'm going to go ahead and select the process definition. So I'm going to select equipment request process. And then we want to pass to form ID. And the default language, I'm going to leave it as US English. And I'm going to say save form URL. Once I do this, if I go back to form definitions, you will see now I have a whole bunch of, for this particular item, I have a form URL. And I can click on this and the form will come up and I can submit and the process will start automatically once I submit this. So let me go ahead and put some data here and submit it. And I'm going to say I want to order a laptop, needs HP with 15 GB with i9 processor. And this is the request I'm going to submit. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. And at this point, the request is submitted. And in this case, now we can go ahead and look at the data for it. And if you go to run process instances, you will see we have a new request where the request is sleepy. So it came to our little task step, and I haven't completed the task yet. And if I go to my task list now, let me go ahead and I have a task that says approve equipment request. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and say reject this request. And if I render this again, now you will see that it went down this path and it's on rejected. So now that we have built our form in the process, that's ready to go. And we also have a data table behind this. And what we can do is now go and see how we can pull this data and show. So if you go into create and data tables, you will see that we have a data table here called equipment request. And I will show you, we can look at the data from it also. So you can see here's the data I submitted on this form. So I can also go in, run a query from this table. So I'm going to go to one of our tools. So let's go to status and let's go to, actually we'll go to administration and tools. And I'm going to go to our SQL tool. And I'm going to connect to connect string. And I'm going to say select star from our table name. And this will run and bring back data for us. And here, the reason I'm doing this is I want to display my list of requests in a dashboard. We'll keep it very simple. So in this case, let's say we want to display few information. For example, we want to show created date. So let me add created date. And let's say we want to also add something like, let's say, We have, let's see, type. Uh, so I have txt equipment type. So I'm going to add that as a field. And I'm going to also add txt status as a field. And if I run this, you can see it brought back this data. And if you want these to be different names, these column names, you can also change your query. I'm going to say as status. I'm going to say as type. If I run it, you can see it says type, status, and here I'm going to say as on, and you can see the data comes back nicely. So now what we can do is we can take this SQL and we can go and build a little dashboard for us. So let's go to go under administration dashboards, and let's go ahead and create a new dashboard. And here I'm going to call it equipment requests. And we'll go ahead and say create. And we have here a number. And remember, in this, we want to display a list. So I'm going to use the data table widget. So if you look at this, we have a data table widget. And we're going to use that. And I'm going to just drag this and make it bigger. So here I'm going to say my equipment requests. And I'm going to select my connection as connection string. That is the default connection string for our database, FlowWright database. And I'm going to pass in our query here. And I'm going to go ahead and say save. And I'm going to go ahead and save this particular item. And I can also go and do a preview. I can say preview, and this will pull the data and show me what it looks like. So you can see I have my created on type status for each request. And now we have, a dashboard to show our data. The next thing we're going to go is go and build the application that we need to show all this. So let's close some of these tabs. And we're going to go to create. We're going to go to applications. And in this, we're going to go ahead and say create here. And we're going to give an application name. We're going to say my application is equipment order. And I can give it a key. So I'm going to just call it EQP. And then authorization roles, I'm going to say all users can log in. And I'm going to go ahead and say create. You can see it's created now. And I'm going to go ahead and now go to the designer on this. I'm going to say design. And here we can also change some of these things, like I can upload a little logo file, I can upload a background image. So let's go to Google Images and let's grab some, let's say equipment icon. We're gonna grab some little icon here. So I have taken a little logo image, saved it as an icon, as a file. So I'm going to upload that as my icon. So let me go to my desktop and load the quick logo and say upload. And if I preview this, you'll see that it looks like this. So Next thing I have to do is I have to build my UI. So as you can see in my UI, I can also change this particular one also. So let's upload the same icon here and say upload, and you can see it shows up. So this is the icon area or the logo area. This is where the menus are built, and this is where the user area is. So here I can go and select, okay, I can say, just gonna select all of these guys. I can say show all these options. And this is the display area in our designer. So in this first one, I'm going to say create, create request. And I'm going to say I want to link it to a form. And I want to do equipment request. That's the form I want to associate with. And we'll make it available to all users. And here also I can upload the icon. You don't have to. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. So now we have create request. Next thing I'm going to show is I'm going to show dashboard of my request. So I'm going to go ahead and save my request. And I'm going to select a dashboard. And here I'm going to say, so you can see I have a whole bunch of dashboards here. But I'm going to pick one that says equipment request that we just built. And authorization roles, I'm going to say all users. So as you can see, this tells me that this particular dashboard is not set up with security for all users to view. So you can actually click here to set the roles. So you can go ahead and click. It automatically adds the all users role to that particular dashboard. And then I can go ahead and hit save. So now you can see this is how the menu structure will look like. And now we need to tell what to load when you first log into this application, what to display by default. So we can go into configure default page. So I'm going to go ahead and select all users here. And we can see, I want to see the my request page by default. And I'm going to add that and save. And you can add multiple default pages for different roles here. So let's go ahead and hit save, and it's done. And now we're pretty much ready to go. So now what we can do is we can click on this little icon here, and that will render the application for us. So you can see I don't have a background image, so didn't display, but you can see the little icon here that came up. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in as admin since we set it up as all users. You can see by default, uh, my equipment requests came up as the dashboard, showing as the default page. Now I can also create a request here. I can say create, and it will launch the form. So let's say we're going to order a desktop, and I'm going to say I need, I need 64 gigabytes of memory with i9 CPUs. And also 2 terabyte right. And I'm going to go ahead and submit this request. And once it's submitted, if I go to my request, you'll see that I have two requests now. One is rejected from before, and one is submitted. And as you can see, this is a very simple application that we built in less than 30 minutes of time. This video is actually 24 minutes, but we built this with a few number of clicks, and you have an application that is fully reusable. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and hope you go and build some amazing applications using our platform. Thank you again.